War has always been part of human history. Nations rise and fall through battles, and kings are remembered by the wars they won or the wars they lost. Shakespeare understood this truth deeply. In his plays, it is not just blood and steel, it is honor. Pride, it is betrayal. Sometimes it is madness. Henry V, one of his most famous histories. Here, Shakespeare paints the portrait of a young king who must prove himself in the crucible of war. He rallies his men with words that echo through courage, and that fighting for your country can make the lowest-born soldier noble. At Agincourt, when his army is outnumbered, Henry begs for more men instead. He tells us that this day, this very will be remembered forever. Those who fight will become a band of brothers. And with this fiery speech, Shakespeare shows us the beauty and the danger of patriotism, the power of words to inspire men to give everything, even their lives. But then in Troilus and Cressida, we see another side of war. Here, the battlefield is not glorious. It is corrupt, ugly, and endless. The war between the Greeks and the Trojans drags on, not for honor, not for justice, but for pride and stubbornness. Heroes like Achilles and Hector are shown as flawed men, driven by ego, desire, and rage. Shakespeare strips away the illusion of noble war and reveals it as a cycle of violence, betrayal, and broken promises. In this play, war is not glory, it is vanity, it is chaos. It is the suffering of ordinary people caught between great powers. Together, these plays reveal Shakespeare's complex vision of war. On one hand, war can unite men, create legends, and build nations. On the other hand, war can destroy families, corrupt leaders, and leave nothing but ashes behind. Shakespeare asks us, what does it mean to fight for honor? What is patriotism? Love for one's country or blind obedience to its rulers? And most importantly, is war ever worth the cost? Even today, centuries later, these questions remain. We see leaders rallying nations with fiery speeches. Just like Henry V, we also see wars dragged out with no clear purpose. Just like in Troilus and Cressida, the stage may have changed, but the human heart has not. Shakespeare reminds us that war is never simple. It is both noble and cruel. It can inspire the best in humanity and reveal the very worst. So, the next time we hear of war or see soldiers marching off to battle, let us remember Shakespeare's words. Let us remember that behind every speech of glory, there are lives at stake. Behind every banner of patriotism, there are families who will mourn. And behind every victory, there is always a cost. For Shakespeare, war was not just history. It was the eternal story of mankind. A story of honor, ambition, sacrifice, and the endless search for meaning in the clash of swords, comedy and foolishness. Listen closely, my friends. For today, we are not stepping into battlefields or palaces, but into the bright world of comedy and the playful land of foolishness. Tragedy may have its power, but comedy is what keeps our hearts alive. Foolishness, too, is not just nonsense, it is the spark that makes life worth living. The world is like a great stage, and we are all actors. Some play kings, others play beggars, some are lovers, and some are villains. But one of the most important characters is the fool. Who is the fool? Not just a clown with funny clothes. A fool is someone who dares to speak the truth in a way that makes us laugh. A fool is not only there for jokes, he holds a mirror up to us, showing us our own mistakes. Take King Lear, for example. He was a proud king who made terrible choices. Everyone was afraid to tell him he was wrong, everyone except his fool. The fool sang songs, cracked jokes, and teased the king. But hidden in those jokes was the truth. The fool had the courage to say what no one else could. This shows us something important. Sometimes wisdom comes to us through the words of someone who looks. Foolish comedy is not only found in books or plays. It is all around us every day. Think of someone walking straight into a glass door, pretending it didn't hurt, and rubbing their nose when no one is looking. It's comedy. Think of a child who argues with all their heart that 2 + 2 is 5, and will not listen even when you show them the answer. That is foolishness. Think of a grandmother trying to send a voice message on her phone, but instead of recording, she keeps shouting, "Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?" into the speaker. That is both comedy and foolishness at the same time. Shakespeare understood this better than anyone. His comedies are full of fools, clowns, and silly mistakes. In Twelfth Night, people wear disguises, fall in love with the wrong people, and chase each other in circles. It looks like madness, but it makes the audience laugh and think. He gave us Sir Andrew Aguecheek, a knight who thinks he is brave, but trembles at the thought of fighting. We laugh at but we also recognize a little of ourselves in him, because sometimes we too act braver than we truly are. Laughter, my friends, is more than just sound. It is medicine. Imagine a room full of sad people. Suddenly, a child runs in chasing a butterfly and trips on his own feet. Everyone smiles. The moment the sadness is lifted, that is the power of laughter. Even in his darkest plays, Shakespeare gave us humor. In Hamlet, while death and ghosts filled the stage, he gave us the gravediggers, two clumsy workers joking about death itself. Why? Because even in sorrow, people need laughter to survive. But here is another truth. Often those who think they are the wisest turn out to be the biggest fools. Polonius in Hamlet loved to give long speeches full of advice. He thought himself clever, but everyone else saw him as a boring old fool. Or think of Malvolio in Twelfth Night. He was strict, serious, and proud. But when tricked by a fake love letter, he made himself ridiculous by smiling too much, wearing yellow stockings and cross-gartering his legs. He believed himself smart, but his foolishness was shown to all. This teaches us that the greatest fools are often the ones who believe they are the smartest. Now, where do we see the most foolishness in love? For what lover has not acted silly? Orlando in As You Like It carved his beloved, Rosalind's name on every tree in the forest. Foolish, yes, but also sweet. In A Midsummer Night's Dream, poor Helena chased after Demetrius, even though he did not love her. She said, "I am like your dog. The more you beat me, the more I will follow." That is madness, but it is the madness of love. When people fall in love, they disguise themselves. They chase, they argue, they make mistakes, and it all becomes comedy. Love and foolishness walk together, hand in hand, but my friends, do not think you are safe from this. You are part of the comedy too. When you laugh at Dogberry in Much Ado About Nothing because he uses the wrong words, do you not remember a time when you said something silly by mistake? When you laugh at Falstaff bragging about battles he never fought, do you not remember exaggerating one of your own stories? Yes, the truth is that every one of us is a fool sometimes, and that is why we laugh, because we see ourselves on the stage. Comedy is not just for fun, it is a way to survive. When rulers are cruel, when life is heavy, when times are hard, people still laugh. Laughter is the poor man's crown. The fool may have no sword, but he has his jokes. A king may silence a nobleman, but he often spares the fool, because the fool's truth hides inside laughter. That is why comedy is powerful. It is not weakness, it is strength in disguise. Foolishness is not always shame. It is sometimes courage, dressed in bright colors. So what do we learn from all of this? Comedy is more than entertainment, it is a mirror that shows us the truth. Foolishness is not always nonsense, it can be a way of seeing the world clearly. Laughter can heal, can reveal truth, and can bring people together. The thinker may have wisdom, the soldier may have victory, the king may have power, but it is the fool who makes life bearable. So laugh when life feels heavy. Allow yourself to be foolish when pride makes you stiff. Because in laughter we find freedom, and in foolishness we sometimes find the truth. And so, as we reach the end, let us remember the lesson. It is better to be a witty fool than a foolish person who believes they are wise. Crowns may break, towers may fall, but the sound of laughter will last forever.